Well, good morning. I'm Jeff Coleman.
And I'm Deborah Pinkerton. Welcome to Morning Light.
So hang on. In just a minute, our Morning Light panel is going to tackle an interesting topic this morning.
Yes,
and
here's
tough
a
for
hint.
some. There's a clue.
That's a clue. But first, here's a preview of what's coming up later in the show. Human trafficking is modern-day slavery. Nearly 50 million people are estimated to live in slavery worldwide. While great strides are being made to combat this crime, Greenlight Operation needs your help to make a difference.
That number is a hard number to get around, especially since we think slavery ended a long time ago.
That's right, and it's right next door.
Indeed. Well, someone finally said it, or at least tweeted it. Reading is now a waste of time. Now, that's not a revolutionary idea. It's been expressed at some point by every student assigned a summer reading list or a book report. But the rationale from a Shark Tank celebrity offers a slightly different angle from the usual student snark about reading.
Yeah, reading is not a waste of time. Here are 3 books.
And these are all, do you have them all open at the
Yes,
same
I
time?
do. Well, this one almost finished, this one halfway through, and this one I'm about to start.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's relaxing.
You were the A student.
I was. Do you want one of the books?
Sure.
Australian retail guru Dave Fogarty posted on X, AI reasoning models can give key insights and tell you exactly how to implement them based on everything they know about you. So how can you rely or relate ideas or make money without being original? And who needs books if artificial intelligence can give you an answer without reading or stepping foot into a library?
Who needs books? Did you really say that, Deborah? Did that really? Oh, no.
I love a library.
Well, so think about this. A political candidate no longer has to publish a book or a platform of ideas to win. A pastor never challenges his congregation to hold up his sermons or social media posts to the scrutiny of Scripture. And if our ideas and beliefs only come from what sounds or looks good online, what's wrong with that? Why do we need a book when the answer is just a click and a question away? Well, thankfully, we've got a great Morning Light panel this morning to tackle these questions, and they have been reading up on the topic. Jamar, good to have you back today. Awesome.
Yes.
So this is a topic that at face value would not seem to be a serious topic, but there are a lot of people, and if you drill down into the numbers of younger and younger people, there is a trend away from books, because why do you need books? When will I ever need to read this book or recall it when everything is on your device? So, Tannon, do you agree or disagree with this Shark Tank celebrity that suggests that we can do everything we need to do through AI, through the miracle of AI, and we don't need books, don't need to read books?
Well, something that I can say that AI can't say back to that tweet is he provided no context for what he was saying.
Yeah.
And you don't know that if you're not a human, and you can't think, and you don't have a conscience that says, what am I missing to this argument that's being made here? And I think that on its face, I sent it to everybody this morning. Even AI said, that's a very dangerous thing to say, you know, which I thought was hilarious, that AI.
So you asked AI.
I asked AI, what do you think about this tweet? And it said, this is pretty dangerous. You know, you can't give me too much responsibility. But I think that we have to understand too, AI is a tool. And a tool can help us achieve an outcome. But if everything that we do is outcome focused and we forget to highlight and celebrate the journey or the process, then we're missing exactly what it is to be human.
The journey of what?
The journey of learning, of knowing, of discovering, of valuing, of affirming, of denying. Like all of those experiences are innately human, and no amount of artificial intelligence can do that. Nothing can tell you what's good, what's beautiful, what tastes delicious, you know, like that's a human experience that you can never abdicate or give away to anything like AI.
So, Jamar, AI can write a book, AI can read a book back to you, and AI can interpret a book for you. Yeah. And you can get an A in class because of it. So if the goal is the A, or the goal is to make money, or the goal is to be able to provide for a vacation and a lifestyle and great cars and be able to fund your life, why do you need to read a book?
Well, I think one, from just a Christian's perspective, if God didn't want us to read a book, there wouldn't be a Bible. I mean, so let's start there. God has a Bible.
Yeah.
And he has a book that is the central thing, tangible thing that we have here on earth. And also, the Lord rewards effort. So if you're simply just getting the grade, then that's not it. In fact, many of you all know my pastor. I work very closely. I'd actually directed communications for Black Pastors United for Education. When he tells his testimony about his struggles in academia growing up, he couldn't read, even though he was being passed on.
Pastor Joshua Robertson.
Reverend Joshua C. Robertson, and that's a disgrace. Like that's literally a disgrace, and one thing that we're pushing back on to say that, hey, everyone learns differently. Everyone's unique, but some people may need an audiobook. Some people may need a learning guide. And so what we're trying to do is make sure that students have access to the unique learning capabilities. Now with libraries and books in particular, the thing is, Jeff, when you read, it just becomes easier to learn other things. And so it's just a little hack. Like even me, like I've never did a lot of homework, whatever, but I was a voracious reader, and just reading so much really helped me, even when I missed assignments.
Davis, Harry Truman, of course, famously read every book in the library in Independence. I mean, that was but he didn't graduate from college. So there are people that are hearing this conversation saying, I get it, and that's a luxury. One day I would like to be able to read books, but right now I have to, I've got a baby, I've got a spouse, I have responsibilities, I have bills to pay. This is just a great way. If I'm a pastor right now, a church is stressful, I can have AI write the sermon. And there is a good body of evidence to suggest that many pastors are using AI to write their sermon. What's wrong with that if the person on the other end is just hearing what they need to hear and it helps them? AI can help you, help them.
I think there is something fundamentally wrong with it because we're not being honest with ourselves and with our own struggle.
How so?
And well, I just think the idea of reasoning through something, right? Coming up with a unique idea, and maybe nothing's new under the sun, but coming to a conclusion through the own struggle. God has built us to do that. He's built us as spiritual and physical beings. So to me, an AI sermon is kind of like if we were all here on Zoom and I couldn't reach out and touch my brother and just feel that. And so I think also for pastors, I think it's dangerous because the Holy Spirit moves and there's unique things that God may give them as they're preparing that sermon. And I mean, maybe God uses AI, that's possible, but I just think there's something, it's just like the difference between doing a Google search on your phone and just sitting and thinking and trying to say, why is that true?
The process of reasoning out.
I just think that's so valuable, and I think that's what we miss.
People say that about cursive versus print, you know, that when you write cursive, that cognitively it is working something differently in your brain, and that the process of learning is the same. So, but think about how many of our ideas are formed. We just went through a presidential campaign where people were scrolling and finding, oh, that says what I say, this says what I say. And the White House, both this White House and the last White House, have really decided that instead of giving long papers and long speeches, that you're aiming for that 30-second, 1-minute reel on Instagram that explains everything that happened that day. So what's wrong with picking candidates, picking a church based on the 30 seconds or 45 seconds if you've sampled from somebody that really affirms what you believe anyway?
Yeah, I think for me personally, I've always had an issue with soundbite or sample culture where it's just like, I just need to give you 30 seconds. This is everything that you need to know on the matter. I'm like, why? Like, why have we allowed ourselves to be subjected to that? Because really what it says is I don't need to make an argument to you. I just need to say enough of what you think. You know, confirmation bias is a real thing. You know, it's like I just need to align myself enough with you quickly enough
confirmation bias
that you feel like, oh, okay, I can trust this source. And it's a very sad thing that we have given away critical thinking and rational thought to sound bites. Because I mean, just the other day when we were on the panel, you had sent us a speech about the Red Cross. I read that thing. I read it, not AI. I read it.
Right.
It took me about 20 minutes to get through that speech. And I was sitting there going like, we don't hear 20-minute speeches anymore.
Right.
You know, everything's so fast. But the depth of what he was able to do in honoring the work of the Red Cross, in defending its reason for existence, why Congress would charter it and fund it. I mean, he went through the whole dissertation, and that is that we need that opportunity.
And you may not agree with the conclusion of that speech at the end.
But that's why you know you don't agree. It's because you got to follow the process rather than just listen to the soundbite.
So, Jamar, let's get practical here. If you're somebody that has been stuck in the algorithm, by the way, and the algorithm picks what you are going to read anyway. Yeah. It's not like you go to the library and you check out the books, right, and you go to the counter and then you go home and then read the books. The algorithm, your algorithm, is telling you what you should read this morning. Where do we start to turn? Like, do you just go to the library and pick the first book? Or, if you want to begin a journey intellectually of reading and changing from social media-based content to deep content, where do you start?
I think you start with whatever's in front of you, whether that's the algorithm, whether that's being led by the Spirit, whatever work of literature is in front of you, be led by that. And, people have to recognize that there's a bunch of cognitive dissonance happening. If we're talking about AI...
Big words, slow it down for me here. Cognitive dissonance.
So if people might not understand that they're being part of a larger problem and want to support something that is actually opposite of what they believe in. One of the things with AI is
that's interesting.
You really have to determine the veracity, the truthfulness of it. Just because it has verisimilitude and it just appears true does not mean it actually is true.
Yeah. And social media forces us almost to do an amen or a thumbs down very quickly.
Very quickly.
Davis, close us down here. Where to begin this process of going from shallow to the deep end without drowning?
Every once in a while, intentionally read an old book. Pick up C.S. Lewis, pick up Chesterton, pick up something that's 50, 60, 70 years old. Doesn't have to be long, doesn't have to be deep, but just read it and just understand what culturally was there and what a reading culture looked like. And I think it will have a huge impact on you.
Read old books. Okay.
Put that on a t-shirt.
We'll do that. Young men and old books. Gentlemen, thank you very much. I think this was a helpful conversation, and we'll try to read a book over the weekend.
Thank you.
Well, coming up on Morning Light, do you know the signs of human trafficking? Greenlight Operation is here to share some of them with us and explain how the nonprofit fights for the freedom and restoration of victims. You're watching Morning Light on Lighthouse TV.
Welcome back. Human trafficking is modern-day slavery. It's a crime that involves compelling or forcing a person to provide labor or engage in commercial sex acts. Worldwide, nearly 50 million people are estimated to live in slavery. Joining me is Jordan Pine, founder, president, and CEO of Greenlight Operation. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me this morning.
Tell us about Greenlight Operation.
Yes, so with Greenlight Operation, we're an anti-human trafficking nonprofit that works to strategically combat this complex issue. And we do that through educational initiatives like our seminars, legislative advocacy, and we're in the process of opening a restoration home to serve survivors who have been harmed by human trafficking.
So what are you seeing?
So here in Pennsylvania, what we are seeing, because we are dealing with sex trafficking and labor trafficking, human trafficking, it impacts the young, the old, men, women, and children. It can happen online or in person. But I often use the example of a child, a situation that involved a child that's going to school every single day and never went missing, but then they're going home to a parent who is addicted to substances, who is selling that child then every single day after school. And you could have the individual who is being exploited online and being forced to take videos or photos of themselves, and that is then being sent out against their will while somebody else is making money off of that. And so it's a diverse and complex issue, which is why we work to break it down into bite-sized pieces and educate folks about it.
It's hard to believe that something like this is happening, and it's affecting so many people around the world.
It is. 49.6 million people are estimated to live in slavery worldwide. And even here in our region in Dauphin County, we have the Dauphin County Human Trafficking Task Force. And when that started in 2020, there were 3 active cases of human trafficking at that time. And you fast forward to today, where education has happened, investigators have been trained, and now there are over 140 cases involving multiple victims in each of those just in Dauphin County alone, which goes to show the power of education and how prevalent it is, but we just have to know what to look for.
Well, and that's what I was going to say, what to look for. How can you know that something like this is happening? What are the signs?
Yeah, so with human trafficking, you're usually looking for vulnerabilities, and traffickers are master manipulators that manipulate vulnerable people to make money. And so this is where we'd recommend going to our website to see the full list of signs, or even scheduling a seminar. But with human trafficking and those complexities, it still can be understood with that. But again, what we want people to look for and know is that being a good neighbor can go a long way and help somebody feel like they matter and they are valued, and could help prevent human trafficking altogether.
Now, you mentioned that Greenlight Operation uses education. What are you doing to combat this?
Yeah, so with education and what we're doing, so we are in schools, we're training about the signs to look for, we train medical professionals, really anybody and everybody can be trained, because we all have a voice to use to share about human trafficking and to take a stand against it. And so education is a very powerful tool to equip others to get involved.
And how is Greenlight Operation making a difference?
Yeah, so with Greenlight Operation, we are a Christian organization, and we really work to share the love of Jesus through the work that we do, and showing the value of human beings beyond the distorted ways that they are being exploited through human trafficking. And so with Greenlight Operation, we are making a difference through educating hundreds of individuals, actually thousands of individuals, about human trafficking. We've seen legislation move forward that is removing some of the big barriers that we have in the fight against human trafficking. And we're opening a restoration home that will serve women who have been sexually exploited by human trafficking, so that they can reclaim their lives and go on to live a life of independence and true freedom after they've gone through that healing process. And so we couldn't do it without the great community that surrounds us and supports our work.
And as you had mentioned, I mean, it's very difficult to believe that this is happening here. For our viewers watching, what is something that they really can look out for? I know you had said about checking on your neighbors, and of course that's something that Jeff says all the time.
Yes, so what our individuals can be looking for could be any indicators or signs that a person is maybe in an unhealthy relationship. Are there indicators of something like that? Or a young person who has really disengaged from their everyday normal activities, and maybe they're on, I know youth are online quite a bit, but is there a sense of fear almost, like if they're not checking in, something could be happening? These are simple things. If somebody is displaying behavior that's not normal, that's something to tune into, ask questions about. And again, we have resources on our website to help further prompt conversations and next steps as well.
Yeah, Jordan, thank you for being here, and thank you for addressing such a very important topic and trying to handle this situation.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
And coming up next on Morning Light, healing starts with feeling safe. Safe housing continues to be the #1 resource requested by those leaving modern-day slavery. Greenlight Operation is working to open a long-term restoration home. As you heard Jordan say, we will hear the details right after the break. Welcome back. In our last segment, we shared the mission of Greenlight Operation. The nonprofit is working to open a long-term residential program to help survivors find peace, joy, and rest. Joining us is Michelle Keadle-Taylor, the residential program director with Greenlight Operation. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having us.
Jordan had mentioned the restoration home. Talk to us more about that.
Okay, sure. So we're very excited that we're getting ready to open a restoration home. And as the name suggests, the main focus is going to be restoration. The home will be a 12 to 18 month stay for women. It won't cost them anything. The main focus will be on establishing a safe environment for them, at the same time working to have a home-like feeling. We want them to feel like it's a home more than a shelter. And there will be a lot that goes into it to make sure that they feel comfortable, that they're able to receive restorative care and a lot of different services.
Share with us some of the stories that you hear from the survivors.
So you may be surprised. I know Jordan alluded to it before. Most of the women, if not all that I've been speaking to, it doesn't look like what you see on TV. They have known their traffickers, many times been in this cycle for years trying to break free of it. So when they call looking for services and safe housing, sometimes this is an issue that's been going on for many, many years, sometimes starting from childhood with familial trafficking or being trafficked by a spouse or a romantic partner. So there's a lot that goes into providing the safe housing they're seeking. It's a complex issue, and it requires a lot of variety of services to help them to heal.
So when you say about services, what will this restoration home provide?
Yeah, so first and foremost, we're working very hard to provide a safe environment. So there will be security, there will be someone on site 24/7. We're working to provide an atmosphere that they feel valued in and that they can be seen and heard. That's extremely important because that's one of the first steps to someone really receiving healing and be able to see who God created them to be. So in that process, we're working to include different things between trauma therapy, also some restorative pieces that will address them spiritually, emotionally, physically, and mentally. There will be case management, coaching, and nurturing, and also job skills, employment, education. There's a whole variety of things.
And how is it by spreading the gospel to them going to make a difference?
Well, for me personally, I think it makes a huge difference. I personally believe that for healing to really begin, I believe that we have to have a reconciliation to God as our Father. Many, many times healing is difficult for people because of the hurts they've experienced and the trauma they've experienced. That's not something that God ever intended for them. And many times because of that, people get very distant from God because they feel rejected, they feel abandoned, they feel hopeless. So for me, if we can be the hands and feet of Christ and we can just be loving, caring, and listening to Him throughout this process, I feel like people get the chance they deserve to break free of this and to be who they were created to be.
Yeah, that is wonderful. Now, you're going to be having a fundraiser. Tell us about that.
Yes, we are having a run for restoration. It's going to be Mother's Day weekend, but on the Saturday, so it won't interfere with Mother's plans. We're encouraging everybody to come out. It's a family event. There'll be it's a fun run. If you're a competitive runner, come join us and really go for it. But if you're just wanting to support us, this is a great way that you can do it. All the proceeds go to help open the restoration home, to help run it, to help provide that place of healing. And you can run, you can walk, you can push your stroller. The more the merrier. So we really encourage you to come out.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have viewers all over the state of Pennsylvania. If they're experiencing something like that, where can they go to find out more information for, like, say, a Greenlight operation in their community?
Right, so we work really hard to update a PA service provider list, and you can find it on our website. And when you look there, it'll be by county. And we would encourage you to go check out the resources that are in your area, and don't be afraid to reach out to them and ask for help. If you see somebody who you think needs help or you want to get involved in some way, we'd encourage you to do that. The National Trafficking Hotline is another good resource that's also listed on our website.
Okay, that is wonderful. Thank you so much for what you're doing. Thank you for sharing it with us today.
Thank you.
And for more information about Greenlight Operation, check out greenlightoperation.org. Stay with us. We are back right after the break. Welcome back. Coming up Monday on Morning Light, they were more than names on a page. Lancaster Bible College will present Seen in the Line, a musical production about the women in the bloodline of Jesus. Learn more about the production and how you can see it. And that's a look at what's coming up on Monday on Morning Light. Now, Jeff, your closing thoughts, and have a great weekend.
You have a good weekend. You have a good weekend, Deborah. Well, her name was Maureen Gordon, my kindergarten teacher. She taught me to read the old way, phonetically. And she knew the difference between a student mimicking and really understanding those words. But Mrs. Gordon was more concerned about what I do with the gift of reading, what I do when I acquired the skill to open up those books. She was concerned that my heart, my inner life was tuned to the good, the true, and the noble. That's what Tannon was talking about on the panel today. She knew the power of words to lift up somebody or destroy or curse. to give life, or as the Bible says, to bring death to the hearer. Look, reading books, I get it, it's important. But what I learned from Mrs. Gordon is that the ability to wrestle with those ideas, to put an author under the interrogator's bright lights, to go deeper than perhaps the dust jacket or the interview with the author or that social media reel says, to trace an idea to the source, that's the journey that began with Mrs. Gordon way back then. When she died at 103, she'd since lost the ability to read. The loss of eyesight was one of those first senses to go. But she memorized the entire book of Proverbs and much of the New Testament. So she was never without the tools to fight the fight of faith. And I'm so thankful for her life and example this morning. For Deborah and the entire Morning Light team, I'm Jeff Coleman. Thanks for spending the week with us. Be sure to check on your neighbors, and God willing, we'll see you back here Monday morning.